You're listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series that syndicates for the A-List Online. My name's Andrew Mackay-Smith. The fella that I got prepared for you on this episode of the podcast series, it's Fredrik Åkesson. He is, of course, the guitarist in Swedish heavy metal giants, Opeth. And I say heavy metal because that's what I believe they are, and I think they're the most important heavy metal band in 2019. Them and Tool, anyway. They're both heavy metal as far as I'm concerned. They've just released a spectacular album. I've only had to listen to it a couple of times, but it's enough for me to know that this is the album that should propel them into the stratosphere. It's called In Cauda Venenum. There's two versions. There's an English version, and there is a Swedish version. If I was more organised, I could tell you when it's coming out, but it will be in the next month or two, given today's date is the 15th of August. So let's have a listen to what Fredrik has to say. Here we go. Andy Mackay-Smith calling. How are you?
Hold on, just going to get my earpiece to work.
No worries.
Now I'm here. Sorry.
No, that's all right. No
How's
worries.
it going?
Yeah, good, mate. Good to chat again. We had a conversation after the live album was released. I think it was about 12 months ago.
Yeah, I remember. I recognize your picture popping up on
Yeah,
Skype.
sweet. Yeah, I've enjoyed that album a
I
lot.
thought it was a familiar face. Yeah.
Yeah, well, look, I got to hand it to you, mate. So I'm glad to hear you're still playing guitar in the background too, because that was one of the features. You're one of the only people that's done that, and I've done over 450 interviews at this point, and I think it's fantastic, by the way. So keep playing, keep on doing it.
Okay.
But I've got to share this with you. I've just sent out a tweet because I've just been listening to the album, and this is what I said. Okay, so I hope I get the pronunciation right, given it's Latin. So In Cauda Venenum. Is that correct? Is that?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
I think so. I don't really know, actually. It's Latin. In Cauda Venenum. Yeah.
Yep. That's
I think it sounds right. I think you should go with that.
So this is what I've said. Now, keep in mind I've only listened to it a couple of times, and I've listened to the English version and the Swedish version because Nuclear Blast put that in the portal for us. But my tweet says, I'm about to jump on a call with Fredrik, so what can I say? This is the album they've threatened to make for years, and it's brilliant. It'll likely be a choice between this and Tool's album for Album of the Year. The Swedish version actually sounds better. That's what I've said, or sounds lit, fire. That's what I've said there. I like the way you've done that, by the way, with that one there. But, mate, I've got to hand it to you. Congratulations, you've done it. You've actually released the album that I believe, and I'm just a humble musical punter, a journalist, an indie journalist who's practicing to be a proper journalist at uni. But I think you've made the album that's really going to put you guys into the same space as Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, Sabbath, Genesis, Rainbow. There's the big comparison, Rainbow. I think you're the nouveau version of Rainbow.
Wow.
You know, that's what I'm hearing. I listened to it and I thought, man, Richie Blackmore should hear this because I know he's got his own thing going on there at the moment, but I'd love to hear a collaboration between you guys and him at this point in time. I love the way that you've gone from, and I love death metal, by the way, so I'm not shitting on death metal when I say this, but you've really progressed. You've really grown, and every album, I think, has just got better with you guys. Since about 2001 or so, every album has just been a step forward. So now that I've laid all those compliments on you, what are your thoughts on the album?
I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you very much. That's, of course, a goal, but what you just mentioned, and hearing you say that, it makes me happy. Because the goal with this album was to make it as epic album as possible. And the fact that Michael wrote the first version in Swedish, that was actually a driving force for him to finish off the songs, basically. I think it made it more interesting for him, or challenging, perhaps, to write the lyrics in Swedish. And yeah, we were really happy with it. And I think we really went the extra mile when it comes to recording, when it comes to choosing the right tones, amps, guitars, etc. Also the fact that we did rehearse properly before we entered the studio. We hadn't done that since the Watershed album.
Okay, yep.
That I've always been pushing for that, and this time around we did it, and I think that was a great investment because playing the songs together, they sink in better in your muscle memory.
Yeah.
Wasn't really any question marks about anything, any parts when we're in this actual studio. So we spent a lot of time picking the right amps. We had so many guitars in the studio. It was insane because this Park Studios also owns a lot of vintage instruments. and drums and keyboards and etc. So it was fun, and we're happy with the result, and the feedback so far from journalists has been very good, and maybe yours was one of the best.
Thank you. No, that's awesome. Yeah.
It feels like we have something cooking. I could tell, like the first song Michael played to me was the last track, All Things Will Pass. And I remember when I heard it in the rehearsal room, the demo version, I was down there to put in some solos on some other tracks. I got the goosebumps, and that's always a good sign when you get that.
Yeah, I think, the only problem that I think you're going to have is that this album is so good, you're going to pick up a whole bunch of new fans that are into radio rock and more mainstream things, and I think you're going to cop a little bit from some of, the older fans that got into Bloodbath and those sort of bands that Michael was associated with in the past. But I don't think you should give a shit, to be honest with you, at this point in time. You guys have been doing what you're doing now for 25 odd years. I really love the fact that you've experimented and tried all of these different guitars, because I can hear that. I don't know whether you recall from our last conversation, but I've always rated your guitar playing. I think you're an outstanding guitarist, and you're one of those guitarists who has Clapton-esque tone, and you know what I mean when I say that, because that all comes from very precise fingering technique and being able to hold the note at just the right angle, if you like, with your fingers, and that hints of decades of experience on your part there. But I'll just go back to my, original point is, man, I don't think you should. I don't know, you haven't raised the point. I'm raising the point, but I don't think you should care what people think if they heap any negativity on the band for progressing as far as you have been, because you're becoming a band of the people. You're probably, if you don't mind me saying, man, you're probably the most important heavy metal band in the world at the moment, and that's really saying something.
I mean, I think that's important for Opeth, and also Michael, who writes the majority of the stuff, that he doesn't really care. He's very artistic. He likes his artistic freedom, and so does the band. The label can't tell us what to do.
Yeah,
they have absolutely no input whatsoever when it comes to the creative process. And it's important. I think it's always been like that for Opeth. And I mean, if we would do Blackwater Park all over and over again, different versions, it would stagnate. It would be boring.
Mm-hmm.
We still enjoy playing that era live, definitely. It's the foundation of Opeth, and I know maybe one of these days Michael will bring out the growls again. Who knows? Because his growl is actually better than ever. When we play now, it's very guttural, so it's more meaning sounding than in a long time.
Is that right?
I think.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny, and we still think it's really fun to play those classics live, and we will still continue with that. So it's also, I think, the mix between the last 4 albums, including In Cauda Venenum, there I pronounced it pretty poorly. The mix blend between this, you can create a really interesting live set instead of only doing the death metal stuff. Even though the older stuff has a lot of dynamics as well.
Yeah.
They have and that part is still kind of with us, but in a different way.
Yeah. I think this is such an important album. I think you guys should. This is my opinion, okay? So take it or leave it. In terms of, I'm a fan as well as a journalist here, but I'm primarily talking to you as a fan here. But when you guys come to Australia in December, I'd love to hear this album played in full. So I appreciate the fans want to hear the older stuff, but I think, remember when Maiden came out in 2006 and played A Matter of Life and Death in full, and they made that they made that decision because they thought, we've got to draw a line in the sand between people wanting to come and hear the same old songs over and over again, and I know you guys cop that too, but with also taking fans on the journey into the new material, and I think that's probably their strongest album since Seventh Son, actually. But you guys are in a vastly different kettle of fish, and that I think you've really stepped up here, and I don't know how you guys have done it as a collective, because it's not just about Michael, it's about all of you guys being able to write together and making a cohesive album. Because there's too many, I'll bring it up, Megadeth, I think Dave Mustaine's a great riff writer, but I haven't been able to listen to that stuff in years because it just doesn't sound cohesive on album. And I know he's the principal songwriter there, but with you guys, even though Michael might be the principal songwriter, I can really hear the input with you guys. So I'm making a very long point here, but is it possible that you'll play in the new album in full when you come to Australia?
Well, you're putting ideas into my head now. I think everybody would kind of like that idea. Well, what we've been talking on right now, it's at least we play 4 songs from it, and it's difficult to pick the ones. But we'll see. We haven't really decided yet. I'll pass on this idea.
Yeah.
But also, you want to. The other songs we're going to play is definitely going to be songs we did not play last time we were in Australia. It will be. Right now, we've been pretty much playing the Garden of the Titans kind of set list when we played the summer festivals, and we're going to change that completely. Maybe not Deliverance. We always play Deliverance, but. So we'll see. We're definitely going to try to make as interesting set list as possible. But I like the idea of playing the entire album, and I didn't know that about Maiden. That's cool.
Yeah, they did it. I remember Yannick or Nico was talking about it, and they said that it was a unanimous decision within the band to do it. And I think they did it also to keep themselves refreshed, because of course you're always going to have the even younger fans. I don't even get it. I mean, I remember going and seeing Ozzy. Years ago now, 2008 or so, but the biggest cheer was for bloody Paranoid. It's not even his song. And I thought, well, it's weird. It was really weird to see people jumping up out of their chairs, because I can't stand the song, to be honest with you.
It's very mainstream. Like, that's, as you mentioned, these fans that they're radio friendly. They don't listen in depth in the same way, I guess.
Yeah. Hey, let's.
I think that's a cool idea. Maybe that's a reason for us to come back to Australia and do a second run on this album.
Well, there'd be a demand
do a mix
for it
now, and if the album really hits off and a lot of people will enjoy it, maybe we could do one of those special gigs or a special tour like that. At least, who knows? I'll definitely going to bring up this idea, so we'll see what happens.
Okay, well, fingers crossed. Yeah, I think. I don't say these things unless I think that they'll be well received by the fans. That's for sure. And it's mate, the strength of the album, and not many bands are doing this year. And if I thought that Tool's album was a smash it out of the park likelihood of being the album of the year, you guys have come along and put out something which I think your album is so strong. It's the sort of album that I'm going to be listening to after 6 months and still finding new things in. It's that type of an album, and a lot of that comes down to the way you're playing guitar too. You know what I mean? So I mentioned the Eric Clapton thing, but you know what I mean by that, don't you? Because I'm a musician, and we talked a lot about that last time, about the way you phrase chords, and when you go into leads and stuff. There's a lot of intent there. So can you tell me about, like you mentioned the last cut on the album, All Things Will Pass. What guitar did you use on the solos in that one there, for example?
Well, it's not really any solos in that track, actually.
Okay.
It's not a guitar solo, but we used for that track we used the Strat.
Okay.
We wanted to catch the kind of rainbow. It has a riff, so something like that. I can't remember it actually right now.
Yep.
But we wanted to catch a bit of a black, more Strat type of tone in that more oriental type of riff in the chorus. Mm-hmm. And it sounds pretty brutal using the single coil sometimes. It really cuts through the sound picture, I think. Live we usually use the humbuckers, but it's a different scenario. But solo-wise, I think this one was a bit different for me, because some of the solos I really have to play over the chords instead of playing over a riff.
Yeah.
So I could space out a little bit more. Like the second track, Dignity, there's a solo there in the beginning where it's just played over this. Oh, sorry, minor.
Yep.
And I really have to. You couldn't just go in your comfort zone. You have to play over the chords more. So I just wrote down the chord chart and improvised over it, and that's basically the same solo as I did on the demo. Michael wanted to keep it.
Is that right?
I just relearned it basically and pimped it up a little bit.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And also, we recorded 3 more songs that's not on the album, and there's a couple of really long solos on those 2 tracks that didn't make it on the album. That is also where one of them, it's really like playing over chords kind of thing, and Michael hasn't really given me that opportunity earlier, so I feel that was really fun for this album, especially in the solo for the ballad Love, Lorn, Crime. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to be a bit David Gilmour-ish on that one.
Definitely, yeah. I was going to mention that was one of the cuts I was going to bring up. Actually, that was one of the ones that stood out. Yeah, I can hear that. The David Gilmour thing. Yeah, you remind me of. You're definitely a heavy metal guitarist, but you've got equal parts Alan Holdsworth, Clapton, as I've mentioned. There, Gilmour. You definitely got the whole Zepp thing going on there, but you're like a composite of hard rock, heavy metal, and prog's greatest hits as a guitarist. Does that make sense?
Oh, thank you. That's a huge compliment, actually. That's kind of the goal, to be diverse. And, I'm a metalhead, of course, since the beginning, and I still play a lot of that stuff. And I also appreciate, like, players with great tone. Like you mentioned Clapton, Jeff Beck, Bill Gibbons, the list goes on and on. I think tone is very important. And if you're not a fusion, a jazz player, know all the theory, you can depend on your tone, and it makes it easier for you. But Love Long Crime was pretty funny when Michael asked me to play that solo. He told me, I want this solo to be the one people will remember you for when you die.
Oh, wow.
Okay, thanks for the pressure, buddy.
Yeah.
But
you did it. You nailed it.
I don't know if that happens, but it came out good, I think. It's different. I try to make the solos different from each another. Some of the solos on the album, like Heart in Hand, it's more wild, shreddy. And also the 9th track, Continuum, is very I wanted to just make a very aggressive type of solo.
Yeah.
But the bonus track solos is pretty cool, actually. It's two really, really long ones, and you hear it somehow later on when they get put out in some format. I don't know what yet.
The what and the how. Fair enough, yeah. So I guess it all leads to the obvious question. Yeah, we've talked about the strength of this album here, but you as a player, I think, at some stage, you're probably going to want to come out of the shadows of being in a band, if you don't mind me saying. So have you got plans for maybe some solo material?
I do have a lot of stuff, and it's always been a plan of it, but it's always something popping up. Like right now, when we were done with the new Opeth album, I got a call from Biff Byford from Saxon.
Wow, yeah, cool.
So he wanted me to play guitar on his solo album, and we started writing songs together. So I wrote 2 tracks, which is more progressive metal type of tracks, and one I did an arrangement of Scarborough Fair, the folk tone, which Simon & Garfunkel is the most famous about it, but he wanted more of a heavy version of that. It's been done millions of versions of that track, but he's actually from that area, so it has some kind of deeper meaning to him. Anyhow, he called me up, so I spent 1 month in England, northern England. I recorded. I did all the guitars for his solo album.
Oh wow, that was you! Wow, okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, when that comes out,
I was very involved with that, and writing, and almost co-producing a little bit, I would say.
Yeah, I know you got to head off because you got another interview coming through. But will you move into more production sort of roles? Because I know you do a bit of that. So, and you mentioned you just did it with Biff there. So, can you see yourself doing more of that?
Yeah, maybe. I just got a new studio set up here, and in September now, I will try to start recording stuff and see where it goes. I don't want to promise anything, but it's always a goal to do some kind of solo album. Even Michael told me I should do that,
There you go.
But I also put Martin Mendes, the bass player in Opeth, is putting out a solo album, which I put on some solos on for him, actually, which is more of a death metal album.
He's the bassist, right, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, is that right? Is that right? So he's playing, changing to guitar and making more of a death metal album?
Yeah, he plays the rhythm guitars on it as well.
Okay.
And me and the guitar player from used to play with Bloodbath is playing some solos on it. Awesome.
Sodomizer, nice. Good metal song, that one there, if ever I've heard one. There you go.
Well, he used to be our guitar tech, and every time Michael had some problem with his guitars, Sodomizer came out and fixing with his belt pack, and it's like telling the crowd, I have a man digging around my ass called the Sodomizer.
Yeah, I knew Michael had sharp wit. I remember reading, I didn't get to go to the Opera House shows, mate, because they sold out within like 30 seconds or something. So yeah, that was the only
Will you
problem.
be able to catch any of these upcoming shows now?
I absolutely want to go to them. It's just the big issue for me is that I've got kids and so much other things going on these days. It's so hard for me to get out at night.
I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? So it's just, I want to, believe me, but I often just have to console myself with listening to the album as opposed to getting to the live show. But yours is one live show that I want to go and review. Of course, it'll be very favourable regardless. But yeah, definitely, especially because you're playing at the Tivoli in Brisbane. That's a really good venue for you guys. Wonderful venue
cool.
that suits you guys. So the Trifford's okay, but it's a bit meh. But the Tivoli's perfect for what you guys are doing.
Excellent. Yeah, we're looking forward to it. It's always a treat coming to Australia, definitely.
Mate, these things are over way too quick, so I look forward to perhaps having a chat to you before the tour to talk up the tour. So congratulations again, man. Can't say enough nice things about
you can
your
definitely
playing.
do that. It's very short when you start talking about guitars and stuff. It's a lot more we could talk about, definitely.
If ever you want to chat about those sort of things, you know where I am on Skype. Just hit me up and, I've got a podcast series. However long you want to talk about your guitars and what you're doing with that stuff, just let me know. I'll be happy to have a chat to you.
Yeah, just pop me a text on Skype, and if you have any ideas, it's fine.
Okay, mate. Yeah, we'll do. No, I'll do that for sure. Yeah. All right, mate. Thanks so much. And enjoy the promotion, mate, of this wonderful album, and we'll catch up soon.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Very happy you enjoy the album so much. I'll tell the rest of the guys as well.
Oh, thanks so much, mate. Appreciate it. Yeah, no worries.
All righty.
All right.
Take care. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Catch ya. You've been listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series that syndicates for the A-List Online, and my name is Andrew Mackay-Smith. That interview subject you heard from then was Opeth's guitarist Fredrik Åkesson. Thanks so much for listening.